Coming up on today's San Francisco 49ers report, we have an update on Deebo Samuel's shoulder injury, and it's positive. The Niners getting close to making a couple of roster moves. And could San Francisco, after trading away a third-round pick for Chase Young, as he's in the final year of his contract, sign him to a contract extension after this year? And what is the word on that situation? Stay tuned to find out. We begin with the latest on Deebo Samuel. He was on Kay Adams' show. She asked him how he's doing during the bye week. I looked at Deebo Samuel's Instagram story. Looks as though he's getting set to go on a vacation to enjoy some time away during the bye week, and hopefully he's continuing that shoulder rehab. Some good news on this front. He told Kay Adams, I'm ready to go coming out of the bye week. So it looks as though Deebo going to be in that Niner uniform in Week 10 on the road against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I think that during this 3-game losing streak, in which Deebo has missed the Vikings and Bengals game in totality and was pretty much out almost the entire game against the Cleveland Browns, because he even said he got hurt early in that first quarter, that San Francisco has really missed the 2021 All-Pro, who is in better shape this year after being disappointing last year, looked to have that explosiveness back as well as that juice back. But you think about Deebo Samuel as a football player. Deebo, when he's on the field, is a game breaker. Anytime you get the ball in his hands, he is a legitimate threat to take it to the crib, whether it be on an end around, a reverse, a carry out of the backfield, a bubble screen, an occasional long ball, a crosser, some type of play in which he catches the ball that allows him to pick up yards after the catch. You can use him in a plethora of ways. And anytime that you can use him and get him the ball, he is a threat and one of the most special playmakers in the National Football League. So without him, the Niners have felt his absence. He has this rare ability to turn garbage into gold as well. And sometimes just picking up easy yards can benefit this offense dramatically. For instance, how often have things seemed to be so difficult for this team on the offensive side of the football at times during this 3-game skip? Now, at times, they're moving the football, and they've shot themselves in the foot by turning it over in opponent's territory. But also at times, you just want to be able to give Brock Purdy, after a couple of interceptions, an easy little bubble screen. You get blockers out in front on those pulls. You get some wide receivers setting up downfield, and Deebo can turn what looks to be a negative play into a 20-yard gain. So the Niners have missed the explosive element to his game as well. San Francisco has also really struggled in the ground game. More numbers on that in a moment. Deebo can help you there, and he can also help you take some of the workload off of Christian McCaffrey, because he could certainly use less carries and less usage. Deebo is another weapon that Kyle Shanahan can scheme up for all of the reasons that I talked about earlier. Shanahan is a very creative play designer and play caller. He puts Deebo, Aiyuk, George Kittle, all these weapons in a position to succeed. But when Deebo is out, everybody else gets elevated up the depth chart, and the weaponry, the depth of that wide receiver unit just isn't the same. And then this is something that I think is sneakily not talked about enough. It's the pre-snap motion disguise. When Deebo went out against Cleveland, a lot of delay of games. It looked like players didn't know where to be and when to be in that position. With some of the pre-snaps, they were late to run across the line of scrimmage. So you kind of run some of those pre-snap motion disguises where Deebo can flex out wide. He can go from out wide into the slot. You can fake a little jet sweep. You can fake a little reverse behind you. A lot of different things that you can do from a creative football sense that just gives the defense something else to think about, because they always have to account for where Deebo Samuel is. And in this 3-game losing streak, you look at the Niners' running success rate. It's fallen off of a cliff. When they were 5-0, they were number 5 in the NFL in running success rate. But since Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams have been banged up from that Cleveland game on, they've dropped all the way to number 15th in the NFL in running success rate. So that's the latest on Deebo. As for the latest pertaining to the Niners roster moves, this could be a game changer coming down the stretch. And I know it's a little bit rich to expect Samuel Womack, year 2, and Darrell Luter Jr. as a rookie to have a profound impact on this team down the stretch. but they're going to be better than Isaiah Oliver. And if they can get back on the field, and John Lynch said that both of them are on the verge of returning, that could help this secondary a little bit. And we know that the Niners could need it, and they didn't make any moves to address that area at the deadline. Samuel Womack has been on IR with a knee injury, close to coming back, as I said. The same could be said for Darrell Luter Jr., who had that knee bruise. Niners put him on IR as well. And what this means simply just helps out the secondary. And the story that the NFL trade deadline tells for San Francisco, they traded for Chase Young. They did not address the cornerback position. So organizationally, I think San Francisco believes that they can get that secondary figured out, especially if the defensive line is synced up with that back end, because oftentimes in coverages you have to be. And the Niners, in trading for Chase Young, they like the personnel in the secondary, but they're banking on the pass rush getting home, getting it figured out, and sacking the quarterback. Because if you're a corner, think about how tough of a position that is to play. You're going up against some studs every single week, but the rules are against you because everything is catered to offenses in today's NFL. If you have to cover for 8 to 10 seconds instead of just 3, you can keep wide receivers in front of you very easily for 3 seconds. Once the play gets elongated, you're kind of screwed on that back end. Womack and Luter do have the ability to play the slot. So then you take Isaiah Oliver off the field. You have Charvarius Ward on the outside, Deommodore Lenoir on the outside. Womack and Luter can play in the slot. Or if you like Lenoir out of the slot, you could play him at nickel as well, and you could pop out Womack and Luter to the outside. Luter, before he got hurt during rookie minicamp, was doing some nice things. He was one of our winners at that point. And then he got hurt in training camp and in the preseason. Womack, on the other hand, was having a really good training camp. Both of those players, the Niners identified them both. Small schools. Toledo for Womack. I think South Alabama for Luter. They had ball skills at the college level and a knack for making plays on the football that could really help this team. And speaking of their impact, you got to imagine it'd be better than Isaiah Oliver. Everybody who disagrees with me has gotten into the comment section and said, Chase, you're ripping Isaiah Oliver. He's been really good against the run, making some tackles behind the line of scrimmage for some TFLs. Look, that's great and all, right? When you're a cornerback, I need you to be able to cover. And Isaiah Oliver has shown all year that he cannot cover. And I'll eat the crow. I've said that. I've admitted it. I thought Isaiah Oliver was going to be a pretty good pickup for San Francisco. He's been awful. The last 4 games, he has allowed a 100% completion rate. That's tough to do. 8 catches on 8 targets, 71 yards and 2 touchdowns. For the season, he is the second worst cornerback statistically in the NFL. He's given up 35 of 40 passes for a completion percentage of 87.5. That ain't going to cut it. You know what's not going to cut it? If you don't subscribe to the channel. Because don't you want to be informed about this football team every day, year round? If the answer to that is yes, then make sure you subscribe because we bring you the best Niners analysis right here on YouTube. So subscribe to us here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Also, sign up with our sponsor, Prize Picks, if you want to get in the game. Prize Picks, the independent largest independently run daily fantasy sports app in North America. Good job, Chase. You went 1 for 3. That's a .333 batting average. I'd be going to the Hall of Fame. It's all about how you finish. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. You pick 2+ players. You choose more or less on their projected stat lines, and you can get up to a $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Those of you who were tuned into the watch party last week and you tailed me on my picks, we almost took it home. The cool option, though, I wanted to go big or go home, and I chose for all 3 of these to hit. But sometimes you can choose just 2 of 3. And if that's the case, I would have won a lot of money because I hit on Brandon Aiyuk more than 5 catches. I hit on Evan McPherson more than 5.5 kicking points. And then Brock Purdy, he only had 1 combined touchdown passing, rushing, and receiving. And we didn't get that one. But it's all good. It made game day a lot more fun. And I've won up to 25 times my money already playing with Prize Picks this football season. And now that the NBA season is here, you can combine your NBA and NFL picks. Next up on the show, let's talk about Chase Young here. Is he going to be with this organization for the long haul? Is he a rental? Could San Francisco sign him to a contract extension after this year? He's in the fourth and final year of his deal after the Washington Commanders did not exercise his fifth-year option. And this is certainly a big conversation among the faithful here. You look at the trade details. Whether the Niners extend Chase Young or they let him walk and he's just a rental, I think it's a win-win. He improves your football team right now. You bring in an impact player at a position of need. You're addressing a weakness, and you're addressing a big blemish on this team right now where they can't get after the quarterback. And you're giving up a third-round compensatory pick for Chase Young, the former number 2 overall pick, who's been one of the best defensive ends in the NFL. And if he were to leave in free agency, the Niners can get a third-round pick back. So basically, if he is a rental, you gave up a third, but you get that third right back. The Niners' ability to really master the compensatory pick formula is a big reason why this organization is one of the more forward-thinking teams in the NFL. Some insight on this Chase Young contract extension. This coming from ESPN's Dan Graziano, NFL insider. Whether Young is in the Niners' plans long-term remains to be seen. The Niners are in win-now mode and confront a number of difficult contract decisions next offseason. But Young was playing well in Washington and could be very energized to find himself in a division race and paired back up with Nick Bosa. For those of you who don't know, Chase Young and Nick Bosa did overlap at Ohio State. Bosa the number 2 pick in 2019, and then Chase Young the number 2 pick in 2020. And Chase Young, as I mentioned and alluded to, he's been one of the best defensive ends in all of football this year. Little bit concerning how long it took him to recover from the knee injury that he suffered in his sophomore campaign because he barely played in 2021 and in 2022. But in 2020 full season as a rookie, he was really good. Defensive Rookie of the Year. And this year so far, full season, he's been really good again. Now, some of you might say he's only playing well because he's trying to get the bag. That only helps his team. Because if he's motivated to get paid, it helps his team this year. He's 8th in total pressures among all defensive ends. He is 13th in sacks this year, 14th in pass rush win rate, 15th in Pro Football Focus's pass rush grade. And you combine them on this team, on this defensive line, with Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead, Nick Bosa, Randy Gregory, there is no longer any excuse for why San Francisco can't rack up more sacks. If Young plays well, a couple of ways that you can look at this, it's certainly hard to let him go because you have this vision of one of the most tantalizing edge rushing combinations in the NFL for the foreseeable future for two players who are still very young in Chase Young and in Nick Bosa. But look, if he does walk and you don't bring him back on that lofty contract extension, the Niners gave up a third and the Niners can get back a third for Chase Young. So I look at that and it's kind of a win-win situation for San Francisco, given the player that they are bringing in and also what they gave up for Chase Young, who up to this point having a really good season. Here's what John Lynch had to say about the Chase Young trade and why San Francisco made it. I felt like it was the best deal to be had. We had a number of conversations. We've always been of the philosophy that it starts up front, and that was the deal that made the most sense for us. I like what John Lynch said because I believe that when you're building your football team, it is important to build it inside out. You obviously always want to have a quarterback, but you want to get after the opposing quarterback and protect your own quarterback. What I don't understand, and I'm calling cap on what John Lynch said there, we always want to build our football team up front. You're doing it with the defensive line. You got to start investing and focusing more and spending more along the offensive line because Spencer Burford and Colton McKivitz not getting the job done right now. So what should the Niners do with Chase Young? Are you paying for him, or do you think that he should just be a rental? Now is your opportunity to play the role of general manager John Lynch and get in that Niners front office.